At the river beneath the mountain lay a gigantic skeleton whose fingertips alone were taller than Xu Yang. Xu Yang and Qi Yi walked beside it, crossing the river through the skeleton's enormous ribcage. As they paused beneath the towering ribs and looked up, both felt an indescribable sense of unease. Xu Ying wondered if this was the same colossal being that had attacked the temple on the Nai River the previous night. The skeleton's owner, whether a god, demon, or another unknown creature, had been slain by the great bronze bell, with its flesh dissolved after falling into the Nai River. As they passed the remains, they heard strange whispers, as though tens of thousands of voices were murmuring at once. Qi Yi explained that gods gained divine power through worship, accumulating magical power after 100 years and forging a 16-foot golden body after 300 years. He believed the skeleton belonged to a deity, and the whispers were the lingering incense energy that had not yet dispersed after the god's death. Xu Ying was astonished by the skeleton's immense size and asked how many years of worship such a god would require. Qi Yi replied that while a god could cultivate a 16-foot golden body in 300 years, this skeleton stood 30 to 40 zhang tall, meaning it would have required over 10,000 years of worship to reach such a level. However, he pointed out that recorded human history only spanned about 3,000 years, leaving the existence of a deity worshipped for more than 10,000 years an unsolved mystery. Xu Ying stared at the shifting golden patterns covering the skeleton, his mind filled with unanswered questions. Xu Ying and Wan Qi continued walking through the mountains and forests of Dark Death Ridge, where they encountered another corpse lodged in the middle of a river. This corpse was even larger than the previous one, with only its upper body remaining. Much of its flesh had yet to be dissolved by the river of Nehi, and strips of blood and flesh still clung to the gigantic skeleton. Slowly writhing, as they prepared to cross, a flock of wild birds flew overhead. Suddenly, the flesh on the corpse shot out like countless frog tongues, snaring every bird and dragging them into the river. The birds screamed briefly before falling silent, leaving only bones and feathers drifting down, while the corpse's flesh visibly increased. Horrified, Xu Ying and Wan Qi held their breath and carefully bypassed the riverbank. At that moment, the corpse suddenly raised its enormous head, its empty eyes seemingly locking onto them. Its mountain-sized face crawled with wriggling flesh buds. Xu Ying shouted for Wan Qi to run, and they fled desperately while the half-corpse chased them by dragging itself rapidly along the river with its arms. Only after losing sight of them did the monster finally give up. After escaping, they reached a mountain ravine and confirmed the corpse was no longer pursuing them. Wan Qi noticed that the mountain peak nearby appeared to have a massive chunk torn away, as though some enormous creature had bitten it off. However, the scattered rocks suggested that something had violently crashed into the mountain instead. Xu Ying sighed that the world was becoming increasingly chaotic. Ahead lay a wide ravine with a clear stream flowing through it. Since it was the dry season, the water was shallow, though it would become deadly during the rainy season. Wan Qi crossed to the other side to hunt while Xu Ying bathed in the stream, washed the blood from his body and clothes, then used his circulating blood qi to dry his clothes almost instantly. Soon Wan Qi cried out in alarm. Xu Ying rushed over and found the forest devastated, with broken trees scattered everywhere and intense heat radiating from deeper within. Advancing further, he saw every tree ahead had fallen in the same direction. Floating about 2 feet above the ground was a giant bronze bell taller than a man. Strange runes on its surface flickered continuously, and the bell rhythmically expanded and contracted as if breathing. A deep palm print over 3 inches deep was embedded in its side, nearly punching through the bell. Judging by its size and shape, the mark belonged to a woman with slender hands. Xu Ying immediately thought of the beautiful female ghost from the coffin the previous night. Around the palm print, the bell's intricate internal formations constantly formed and collapsed, as if struggling against the terrifying power contained within the imprint. Xu Ying realized the bell was using a mysterious breathing technique to stimulate its own power and heal itself while resisting the destructive force trapped inside the palm mark. Nearby, Wan Qi had already caught 2 black wild boars, one dead from his venom and the other still alive beneath him. Both the snake demon and the surviving boar stared nervously at the bronze bell. Xu Ying wondered how the bell had appeared there, believing it should have been swept into the underworld, and guessed it might have been responsible for smashing through the mountain. Despite Wan Qi's repeated warnings that approaching it would be fatal, Xu Ying carefully walked closer and slowly extended his hand. As his hand neared, the bell suddenly stopped breathing and remained perfectly still. Seemingly watching him, the surrounding air became scorching hot, causing the fallen trees to crack from the heat. Xu Ying stood motionless. After a while, the bell resumed its breathing, apparently deciding he posed no threat. Xu Ying quietly stepped closer and gently placed his hand on the bell. Smiling with satisfaction, Wan Qi was stunned that Xu Ying had risked his life merely to pat the bell. Xu Ying explained that the bell had saved them during the Nehi River's reversal the previous night. So since it was injured, he simply wanted to comfort it the same way he comforted cats and dogs. The instant Xu Ying turned away, the bronze bell suddenly crashed heavily onto the ground. Its body trembled violently, its formations became chaotic, and it twitched uncontrollably like a dying person suffering grievous injuries. Wan Qi urgently warned Xu Ying to retreat before the bell exploded. Xu Ying cautiously backed away, but after only 2 steps he heard the bell scraping across the ground behind him. Whenever he walked forward, the bell dragged itself after him. The faster Xu Ying ran, the faster the bell pursued him, smashing through giant trees and pulverizing huge boulders while relentlessly following only a few steps behind. Wan Qi shouted that Xu Ying had been tricked. By touching the bell, the severely injured artifact had become dependent on him for protection. Desperate, Xu Ying lamented that he was already wanted for killing both humans and gods. And now having a giant bell following him would make surviving impossible. Just then, the bronze bell silently floated into the air, rapidly shrank in size, and suddenly entered the back of Xu Ying's neck. Believing he had finally gotten rid of it, Xu Ying celebrated, but Wan Qi and the little black boar stared at him in horror. Wan Qi tried to explain, but at that moment he heard a bell ring inside his own mind. Frightening him speechless, Xu Ying suggested sparing the surviving black boar because it seemed intelligent. Wan Qi explained that the other boar was poisoned and inedible, while the living one was safe to release. However, not long afterward, 2 roasted piglets were cooking over a campfire, and after eating their fill, Xu Ying and Wan Qi continued toward Mount Wuwang. As they traveled, Xu Ying repeatedly heard faint bell chimes whenever he shook his head. Though he assumed he was imagining them, Wan Qi secretly worried that the bell inside Xu Ying's body might eventually smash his head apart. Xu Ying also felt increasingly weak, his blood qi becoming insufficient, and he quickly became exhausted, believing his earlier injuries had not fully healed. Wan Qi, however, watched in horror as Xu Ying rapidly grew pale, gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes, looking as though he had been drained by a female ghost for hundreds of rounds. Suddenly, a deep voice like the ringing of the bronze bell echoed inside Xu Ying's mind, asking if he knew what inner observation and visualization meant. Xu Ying was startled and asked who was speaking. Wan Qi heard nothing and became confused as Xu Ying talked to empty air. The mysterious voice explained that although Xu Ying had already reached the peak of the qi-gathering realm, he did not understand inner observation, preventing him from advancing further. Curious, Xu Ying respectfully asked for guidance. The voice explained that inner observation meant looking inward rather than gathering external solar essence. By observing within one's own body, one could open the hidden mystery domain, witness the extraordinary scenery of the internal organs, harmonize the 5 qi into primordial qi, and finally complete the qi-gathering realm. Only after that could one perceive the body's mysterious gate and enter the next cultivation realm. Xu Ying found this cultivation path unfamiliar, noting that it differed from the Na Master's system and wondering whether it belonged to demon cultivation instead. The mysterious voice sounded puzzled, asking what a Na Master was, because it had been describing the path of qi refiners. Assuming Xu Ying himself was one, Xu Ying was disappointed after discovering that the mysterious voice was not talking about Na techniques as he had expected. Believing he had only cultivated demon arts, he asked what a qi refiner was and begged the mysterious senior to help him open his Niwan secret treasury and teach him Na techniques. The voice impatiently corrected him, explaining that the cultivation method he had practiced all along was a genuine qi refiner technique completely unrelated to demon arts, while it knew nothing about Na techniques. Instead, it instructed Xu Ying in the method of inner observation, telling him to keep his eyes half open, focus on the faint light before him, observe his breathing, gather all distracting thoughts into a single thought, place his spirit between his eyes, and refine that single thought into divine consciousness. The voice believed that cultivating divine consciousness normally required several days. But before it even finished explaining, Xu Ying's eyes already began to emit faint divine light. He had successfully refined his consciousness into divine consciousness almost instantly, shocking the mysterious speaker. The owner of the voice was revealed to be the great bronze bell hidden inside Xu Ying's head. The bell had fought fiercely on the banks of the Nehi River the previous night, slaughtering 6 or 7 powerful enemies before the woman inside the coffin escaped and severely wounded it. It desperately fled, crashed into a mountain, rolled down the slope, and hid itself while attempting to heal. However, its injuries were too severe to recover naturally. When Xu Ying unknowingly approached and touched it, the bell sensed that he was a qi refiner and deliberately concealed itself inside his body, secretly absorbing his blood and vitality to restore its damaged condition. Seeing that Xu Ying possessed the foundation of a qi refiner but knew almost nothing about proper cultivation, the bell decided to guide him. The faster Xu Ying cultivated, the more blood and vitality it could secretly absorb to speed up its own recovery. Although it intended only to give basic guidance, it never expected Xu Ying to master divine consciousness immediately after hearing the explanation. The bell had witnessed countless geniuses in its own era, where talented cultivators usually required days of meditation before even producing a trace of divine light within their eyes. Yet Xu Ying accomplished it in a single moment. The bell did not realize that Xu Ying had spent 7 years cultivating the Taiyi Dao guiding technique, a method that required preserving only one perfectly pure thought known as Taiyi. His spiritual foundation had therefore become unimaginably stable, allowing him to naturally transform that single thought into divine consciousness as soon as the correct method was revealed. The bronze bell further believed Xu Ying would still need several days to perceive the Jade Gate leading into the Shiyi realm and even more time to strengthen his divine consciousness enough to push open that gate. Instead, the moment those thoughts crossed its mind, Xu Ying immediately perceived the Jade Gate and pushed it open with his divine consciousness. Completely astonished, the bronze bell admitted that Xu Ying was an extraordinary genius whose talent nearly rivaled that of its former master. Though it stubbornly insisted he was still slightly inferior. Passing through the Jade Gate, Xu Ying entered the mysterious Shiyi realm hidden within his own body. His vision transformed into divine consciousness, allowing him to witness an immense internal universe unlike anything visible through ordinary eyes. Strange colors beyond anything found in the natural world filled his vision. Vast clouds and flowing currents represented the qi circulating throughout his body, while gigantic inverted mountains symbolized his heart, lungs, liver, spleen, and kidneys. He could clearly see scars and hidden injuries inside every organ, accumulated from countless previous battles. He watched qi evaporate into clouds, gather into thunderstorms, and produce roaring lightning that illuminated the internal world, immediately understanding the true essence of lightning tempering. Soon afterward, an enormous blazing sun formed from condensed qi rose within his body, illuminating each organ with a different color: green for the liver, white for the lungs, red for the heart, black for the kidneys, and yellow for the spleen. At that moment, Xu Ying also comprehended the principles behind great sun tempering. The magnificent scene filled him with excitement as he realized his own body contained an immeasurable world. Turning around, he saw his own figure still standing before the Jade Gate he had just opened. Fully understanding that this mysterious world was the Shiyi realm described by the bronze bell. Seeing Xu Ying's success, the bronze bell immediately taught him the next cultivation step: 5 qi returning to the origin. Following its instructions, Xu Ying used divine consciousness to guide the qi produced by the 5 internal organs. Streams of red, green, yellow, white, and black qi converged from the heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys before merging into one. As the 5 streams fused together, brilliant golden radiance erupted and transformed into primordial qi. Xu Ying instantly felt an indescribably powerful force surging throughout his body, purer and far stronger than ordinary blood and vitality. As the primordial qi flowed through his body, many of his internal injuries healed naturally. Once again, the bronze bell was left speechless. It had expected Xu Ying to spend considerable time mastering 5 qi returning to the origin. Yet he completed it as effortlessly as if it were instinctive. The bell privately admitted that Xu Ying truly deserved to be called a great genius, though it still insisted its former master remained slightly superior. Outside the Shi Yi realm, Xu Ying's blood and vitality became vastly stronger. His muscles and bones resonated, and his internal organs roared like dragons and tigers. Niu Ruiki immediately sensed the overwhelming increase in Xu Ying's aura. However, moments later Xu Ying's blood and vitality rapidly withered as the bronze bell secretly continued stealing his vitality to heal itself. Ruiki immediately realized the bell was responsible and resolved to stop it. But the instant the bronze bell rang inside his mind, all his courage disappeared, convincing himself that Xu Ying would not die from losing some vitality. Ruiki reluctantly abandoned the idea. Meanwhile, a gigantic deity arrived at the village beneath the mountain. The giant stood nearly 4 meters tall with a muscular body. Green ribbons wrapped around him, a wheel-like halo behind his head, and green incense energy swirling around his body like living serpents. His name was Yong Xiang Gong, a deity who had received incense worship in Yangtze town for 234 years. The terrified villagers immediately hid their livestock. Women hurriedly carried away their children, and young women deliberately smeared stove ash across their faces to avoid attracting his attention. Yong Xiang Gong casually grabbed an old villager and demanded 5 chickens and 2 jars of wine, specifying exactly how the chickens should be cooked. When the old man tearfully explained that his family owned only 2 hens and no wine, the deity threatened to eat people instead, forcing the villagers to gather chickens and fruit wine from every household. While feasting, Yong Xiang Gong revealed that he had been ordered by the city god to hunt down the fugitive Xu Ying. He even demanded female entertainment, asking whether the old man had a daughter. Learning the old man had none, he summoned a neighboring 12-year-old girl to sing while he drank, casually declaring that once she reached 14 or 15, he would personally take her as his bride. The starving girl gratefully devoured the chicken leg he tossed her while the hungry villagers looked on helplessly. At that moment, Yong Xiang Gong sensed someone approaching the village entrance. Xu Ying, pale and weakened from the bronze bell draining his vitality, walked calmly into the village accompanied by the giant snake demon Niu Ruiki. Recognizing him immediately, Yong Xiang Gong laughed triumphantly, revealing that while the other gods had searched northwest, he had correctly guessed Xu Ying would return along the opposite route and had patiently waited here. Ruiki attempted to frighten him by recounting Xu Ying's victories over justice assistant Ding Quan, prison warden Wei Chu, and the stone mountain god, reminding him that corpses still lay on the mountain as proof. Yong Xiang Gong remained completely unconcerned, believing his own strength surpassed theirs. With a casual flick of his finger, he condensed incense power into a blazing arrow that instantly pierced Ruiki and nailed him to the ground. Ruiki cried out in pain, complaining that he had nothing to do with Xu Ying's crimes. Ignoring him, Yong Xiang Gong condensed the incense energy in his hand into an enormous sword over 3 meters long. Calmly pointing the sword at Xu Ying, he ordered him to kneel without resisting so he could calmly cut off his head and present it to the city god. Xu Ying slowly clenched his scar-covered fists and calmly rejected the command. Remembering the oath he had made after killing the Zhang family field god, he declared that he would never again kneel before any wooden idol or false god. His blood and vitality erupted violently, manifesting a towering elephant-headed divine figure behind him that roared toward Yong Xiang Gong with earth-shaking force. Looking directly into the giant deity's eyes, Xu Ying proudly declared that he had been born free, and anyone who dared stand above him, call him a slave, or force him to kneel would be beaten to death by his own hands.